Just Bill Rentschler alongside meteorologist Carmelo in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Another edition of the Weather Academy at Carmelo. Today we have something I think a lot of people will probably be interested in, and that's the winter outlook for the 2024-2025 season.
Out of everything we've talked about, this might be the one that people will care about the most, probably ever.
And I want to say at the outset, we're going to be looking at the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center's winter outlook. Forecasting the weather in Nebraska is really hard, especially on just going out a week or 2 weeks. Trying to forecast or kind of give a general prediction even for the upcoming winter ahead, there are a lot of different things you can look at. Teleconnections, it's really hard, though.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, take winter out of it. Look at what just happened this week. We had a low temperature of 23, just a couple degrees from the record low, and it could be close to 80 degrees out there tomorrow. So that just goes to show the weather and how fast it can change.
Yes, it can. And so we have to start off with a look. Teleconnections. A lot of folks have probably heard of the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or they probably more heard of, hey, we're in an El Nino, or hey, we're in a La Nina. And right now, we are in a sort of neutral phase.
Right.
But we are forecasting, I should say the National Weather Service is forecasting a 75% chance as we head into the winter months for a weaker La Nina.
Correct. So we were in an El Nino recently. We're in the neutral phase now, so it's kind of in the in-between. Mm-hmm. We're not leaning one way or another. But it's usually kind of a transitional phase. Mm-hmm. And now we're heading into the La Nina winter. So what can we expect to see in La Nina winter, Bill?
This is a typical sort of patterns when you look at La Nina and El Nino and sort of kind of the resulting weather patterns that you see from them. In an El Nino year, you have a more extended Pacific jet stream. You have more low pressures sort of in the Gulf of Alaska and in the northern Pacific. In La Nina, though, you have kind of a blocking high pressure that sets up out there, and it kind of shunts the jet stream further to the north. And so that's the teleconnections we're talking about. We're talking sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean that are infecting where the jet stream goes. And again, the jet stream is what steers our weather. Absolutely.
But look at that jet stream. On average, that's an average placement. Rich high pressure to the west, trough low pressure to the east. Just a subtle movement in that track that can determine whether we're going to see a winter storm, just some regular rain, or no weather at all, and it completely misses us. So what we're expecting to be into is a regular winter in a sense. We're going to get some snow, we're going to get some rain, but there's no indicator is it going to be more snow or more rain.
There are stronger signals, especially when it comes to El Nino and La Nina. There are stronger signals in other parts of the country it's going to be a warmer than normal winter or drier than normal winter or what have you. In the middle parts of the country where we are in Nebraska, it's really difficult to try and discern those types of deals. So I mentioned it earlier, but this is the model sort of plume is what we call it. The forecast for the El Nino, La Nina, that sea surface temperature anomaly. So you can see right now, the latest observation we have is the June, July, August observation, which was 0.1. And so it's forecast to continue to go negative as we head into the fall and then as we head further into the winter months. And so that's where our La Nina is.
Absolutely. So it's hard to say one way or another where it's going to be because it's just where we're at in the country. We know in the northern part of the country, and we'll talk about what the Climate Prediction Center put out, we think it's going to be cooler and wetter. In the southern part of the country, it's going to be warmer and drier, and we're just kind of in between. What we saw this morning was basically near normal chances for both temperature and precipitation. So it's a 1 in 3 chance that we'll see near normal temperatures and snowfall, 1 in 3 chance of above and below. So it really is a roll of the dice.
It really is. But before we jump into that, I wanted to take a look at first kind of where have we been last 10 years, because this really is indicative. We've had El Ninos, we've had La Ninas the last 10 years. We've also gone from our least snowiest season to our third snowiest season, all in the last 10 years.
2018, 2019, right? 55.
I mean, you have 2 of the least snowiest seasons and 2 of the snowiest seasons have happened in just the last 8 years.
I came to Nebraska at the right time. I saw the extremes on both ends for snowfall.
So our average, 30-year average, 26 inches of snow. If you look at the 10-year average, it's a little under that. The all-time average dating back to 1897 when snowfall records began is 26.1. And you can see actually more years than 8 out of the last 10 years we've had below average snowfall.
Correct.
The 2 years we didn't, though, we more than doubled it one year, and we almost doubled it the other year. So we've kind of been all over the board the last 10 years.
We have. I mean, it looks like even though the all-time average is 26.1, I mean, the last 10 years you've really been hovering between 14 and 22 inches with some anomalies. You see 5.7, 49, 55, but man, it really has been crazy, hasn't it?
It has been. And so that's where we've been. If you look at just in terms of hey, what do we average by month? Again, in October, it's around an inch. But, there's only been 3 Octobers in the last 10 years that have had measurable snowfall. It looks like with the forecast we have now, I would say probably not going to see measurable snowfall this October.
Well, given how unusual it is, that wouldn't be too crazy.
Yeah, and things really pick up in November. That's when we have our average first snowfall is mid-November. And obviously our snowiest period is December, January, February, the meteorological winter months, which isn't surprising. If you look at Carmelo, and it's one of the things I probably should have grabbed but didn't, if you look at the climate normals, the new normals that were released a couple years ago, one of the big changes was that we saw it was getting kind of warmer in the early parts of winter and maybe a little bit less snowy in that kind of November and December time frame, because we have been just a little bit warmer during those months.
Incredibly warm this month. I mean, still can't believe we were talking about temperatures in the 80s and 90s, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, Bill. 1/10 of an inch we average in May. So winter could last a long time.
Well, you say that, and I'm gonna punch up here because I just spent a long time working on this. So the number of days that have had measurable snowfall in Lincoln since snowfall records began, 1897. So basically, I looked September 1st through May 31st during that time frame. There have been 2,452 days that have had measurable snowfall in Lincoln, and if you break down those numbers, only one time in September, our earliest ever snow, I think, was September 29th.
Wow.
Only 27 days in October. So
no, it would be very unusual if we saw
October
any.
snow is unusual. I think a lot of people think it's not because we had the big October snowstorm back in 1997 when you had over a foot of snow.
And that makes it even more incredibly rare that happened.
But again, most of our snow is coming in that December, January, February time frame. Only 5 measurable snows in the month of May. We still somehow...
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. So that's kind of normal.
Okay.
So here is, though, this is just released today from the National Weather Service and from the Climate Prediction Center, their winter outlook. And again, a little kind of disappointing for us here in Nebraska when you look at it.
Right.
But they are forecasting below average temperatures or better than average odds for below average temperatures for kind of north central and northwestern parts of the country, and then above average temperatures from the southwest through the southern plains, the Gulf states, and then up into New England.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of maybe a little hard to tell on this one, but far northern Nebraska, and I would probably lean towards more north central, northeastern Nebraska, it's really right in that barrier of below average temperatures. And I just want to say this is not a guarantee either way. Yes. And
this doesn't mean it's not going to be cold.
No. Or it's not going to be warm even, I mean, in that bright orange period, or the bright orange colors in the south and southeast, and then the bright blue, better chances that we'll lean one way or the other. Again, not a guarantee. So here, for most of the state, I mean, talk about 95% of the state, maybe even more than that. Like I said, 1 in 3 chance of seeing it go either way. But
which you just love to have your local meteorologist say.
Tell you that you could have anything happen this winter. I mean, I guess, it's hard to say. Typical winter coming up, there's going to be cold days, there's going to be warm days. We're going to see rain at times, we're going to see snow at times, That's just how much in the end.
And so that's the temperature outlook. So again, for most of Nebraska, we have equal chances to see either above, near normal, or below. In terms of the precipitation,
this one's even more upsetting to me because there's not even a sliver of the state.
And this tracks though with the general pattern that you see with a La Nina. Even though we're expecting to see a weak La Nina, but again, above average precip in the Pacific Northwest and across the Great Lakes, you have that more amplified jet that kind of swoops through those areas a little bit more. Below average precip then across much of the desert Southwest, Southern Plains, and into the Gulf states and the southern Atlantic seaboard.
No doubt about it. There definitely will be more snowstorms, I mean, based off this, in the Northwest and in the Great Lake region. But, a subtle difference in the track of the jet stream, that's all it takes for snow to shift in a different area of the country. So I think we'll get a few snowstorms. It's so hard to say how many exactly and how much snow we're going to get from each one. But there will be snow this winter. We know that. There will be.
And so that's... this temperature and that precip outlook are both for the meteorological winter months, December, January, and February. They also released, again, they go out even further. So this is the temperature outlook for January, February, and March. So again, you could kind of say this is the second half or of the winter season.
Now we're getting somewhere.
And
There's a lot more blue on that map.
Yeah, you see more blue, and again, that's typical of kind of where we've been the last several years. Our big cold snaps have really come from mid-January to mid-February.
Correct.
And so I would expect nothing different this
I mean, just the way it's starting out now. I mean, it would take a lot for us to change to start getting into that cooler than average stretch. I mean, we've been warm for a while.
And so that's the temperature outlook for January, February, and March. And this is the precip outlook.
Oh, okay.
Again, you can see pretty similar to the December, January, February outlook. Again, above in the Pacific Northwest and the Great Lakes, below in the Desert Southwest and into the Gulf states.
So maybe a sliver of the panhandle of far southwestern Nebraska, a little bit drier than normal, but I mean, most of the state has seen those equal chances.
So that's the outlook, Carmelo. It's not.
It's probably not as exciting as what people thought. They might have seen, when you see, winter outlook coming out. What are we thinking? But it's really tough to tell. We're still a ways away. I mean,
we were just, again, you can look at the numbers 1,000 different ways. In the last 10 years, I mentioned, last year we had a strong El Nino and we had 16.4 inches of snow.
Correct.
I can go back to the winter of 2018, 2019. We had maybe not as strong of an El Nino, but we had 55.5 inches of snow that El Nino. La Nina year, 2022, 2023, we had a La Nina going into that year. We had 14.3 inches of snow. But I go back to 2020, 21, and we had a La Nina, and we had almost 50 inches of snow. So these connections, they're very global. They're very sort of broad. And it's really
not
hard
meant
to
pinpoint
down.
How much snow am I going to see in my backyard
exactly.
in the capital city on this day or even this time frame, So based on recent history in the last 10 years, you have to at least think you're leaning towards below 26 inches because, 7, I think, or maybe 8 of them, 7? 8 of them were below normal and only, 2? And the 2 that were well above normal. I mean, we're talking about 45 to 55 inches of snow. So even though there's a 1 in 3 chance either way, it might be lean towards a little bit being a little drier than normal, but hopefully not as extreme as only 5 inches of snow. I'm sure most people would be happy with that, though.
And I think, moving forward as we get a little bit closer to when we probably will see snow, I think we're probably going to do a more specific, this is what our snowfall prediction for the upcoming winter. But the new outlook was being released today, so we wanted to cover it today. Again, our average for snow in October, for Lincoln, isn't for another month. It's not until... I think
November
it's
18th. Yeah. It is November 18th.
So we're still a ways away from that. And so I think we'll give you maybe more specific numbers in the coming weeks. But we just wanted to take a look at that outlook.
Absolutely. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, appreciate everyone for tuning in, watching. We got to jump off here. The 12 o'clock show is going to be starting here in 4 minutes. We're going to get kicked off the live stream. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. As always, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all of your latest news, weather, and sports. Until next time, hope everyone has a nice Thursday.